Okay, so in the last video, before I took a break, I was waiting for my Stitch Witchery to arrive in the mail, and I had made the soles for the pair of shoes that goes with these fabrics, and I was finishing up the outfit, which is done, the dress rather. And so now we're going to make the shoes to go with that dress. But while I was waiting, I made these little creatures here. These are a picture that I had posted to some of the groups that relate to Tonner doll shoes, or Tonner dolls. And this has this front buckle. It goes around the front of the foot, up high towards the ankle, and then these great square toes. And this is the right, this is the left, and the square toe. And I had made the square toe masters way back when. And when I saw this human shoe, which I put the picture with it, which was my inspiration, knowing that I had a square-toed pattern, I was like, giddy and excited. And so I have since created these, and these turned out really well. And not perfect, but they are fun. I even added some vinyl to the bottom to look like they have heel covers. So, which is kind of fun. All right, so setting these aside, we are going to make the shoes for this dress. As I said, I had already made some, and they turned out just not what I want. And so I'm going to turn on my iron here. So what we're going to do today is we are going to make the pump with the slit. And I'm hoping that it will come out nice. I am debating. I truly am debating, because it's difficult, but I think it's what I'm going to do. I want to make a whole pump. So it is what it is going to be. And I'm going to put these square-toed masters back in the bag. All right. So in order to do this, we are going to reinforce some fabric with some Stitch Witchery. And I have 3 widths of Stitch Witchery. I call it Stitch Witchery. I know I've mentioned it before, but I'm going to use this thicker one because we're going to be covering and lining the fabric in order to cut out 2 of these. And I'm going to put the Stitch Witchery on. I hope it comes out thin enough that it's still functional. So I'll take the cover off. This is, if you don't have this, get it. I ordered this off of Amazon. It was a bargain, and it was 3 different, like I showed you, 3 different widths. And let's see, I need 1, 2. So we're going to go just that much for now. And so I'm going to, the Stitch Witchery is like gossamer. It's like spider webbed. Reminds me of fiberglass. Which, wouldn't that be interesting if that's what this is made out of? But I don't think it is. I think it's like some sort of spun glue for polyester fabric. I think that would be hazardous if we... Okay, so where's my right side? Wow, it's really hard to tell with this fabric. This is the more fuzzy side, the woolly looking side, and this is more of the woven. Yeah, it's the fuzzy side that's the right side. Okay. So what we're doing is we're just placing this in here. And then we're going to put the lining right over the top. You know what, I'm just gonna lay this over just a skosh so it doesn't get sticky on my iron. I don't want it to get sticky on my iron. I just want to fuse it. It's fusing. Okay, I think we're good. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trim this off. And now I'm gonna trim this. You know, everything that I'm doing, you don't have to do exactly, but you know, I'm a creative and I do stuff according to my own wisdom and thinking as to what's the best way to do it. Now, you're going to have other ideas, maybe do it better, and you know, maybe turn it into A, B, and C steps. I'm a little more freeform than that, but all right. So now I'm going to lay this on and I'm going to cut it. I'm going to bring this down like this. You know what I might even do is I might even just pin it for good old time's sake, just to keep this under control. There we go. All right, I think we're cooking here. So those black and tan shoes I made without an outfit. So now I'm doing everything backwards, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an outfit to go with the shoes. It'll be more tailored, feminine, and as couture as I can get it. Lining as needed. Sometimes I don't line. I know there's things that Tamara Casey does, and of course I think that she tries to do her work at a level that is very special and significant, and sometimes she doesn't line, and I love that. I enjoyed watching her very, very much. All right, so now we're just gonna go in here with my super sharp scissors. Applying just a small amount of pressure here in order to get this curved. Of course, if I folded it in half the way I should, I wouldn't have to worry about that too much, but okay. Well, that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna bring this in just a skosh. Okay. All right. Now, my thread is ready. Put your knot in. All right. This is my outer and my inner. So we're going to take those together. And we are going to start at the bottom and do an 1/8 inch seam. I would also recommend doing this on the machine, but I'll just go back over and you know what, I want to come in just a skosh. There we go. It's such a small distance that using the machine seems overkill, but I just don't want to lift it up and put it in the way, move it out, stop the film, or stop the video rather, stop the filming. Cut! Action. Hello. Yeah, that happens. Gosh. Yeah, okay. Doesn't that make you want to punch something when that happens? All right, now I'm going to go over this edge like this and come back in and get that edge covered with a stitch. That kind of keeps it behaving. And I'm going to go back in and I'm going to go into this area here. And then I'll go over here. We're just going to reinforce this. So I think all in, these videos are going to be about close to 4 hours. And you can watch as much or as little as you want to kind of get the gist of what's being done and created. And of course, this is all going to be on you with regard to how much effort you put into the practice of making these shoes. Making them your own to go with your outfits. It takes time. I'm going to do one more to just lock it in. Oh, look at that. I could have got that off. All right, so now it's done. I'm going to open this up. And we're going to glue that down. And I'll use my handy dandy Fabrifix, formerly Fabri-Tac. I always call it Fabri-Tac, I can't help it. Sorry, Fabrifix, or whoever makes this. Beacon Adhesives, you rock. It's the best stuff on the market for doing this work. And now we're going to use these marvelous inventions. I don't know who invented the clothespin, but I think they deserve a serious party. They're dead probably than a doornail at this point. But all right, so now that's ready. And then we're going to do this on the other. I probably should just stop it. Okay, so we've got our uppers gluing tight. We've got our bottom sole cut out. We've cut out the covering for the sole that this gets attached to. And we're going to do what's next. So I'm going to lay this on top of this, but before I do that, I need to glue my surface. Or excuse me, I need to go underneath the shoe because this is going to be the top sole and this will be the bottom. So I'm going to just go around this edge because we're going to fit the front first. And we're just going to lay this in like this. You got to have something to grip that isn't glued. And we are going to snip. Normally I do this before I lay it on, but we're going to do this so that I can show you that I can get this pretty tight. And we're going to do this, and this, and this, and this. Get a little more glue on. Get it just a little bit more tacky. And now we're going to bring this in like this. Like that. Like this. 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 Let's get this up. And that. 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 And that. how you start your gluing. And I'm going to put just a skosh of glue here. Okay. And now we're going to come around. I'm going to do this, this, and we're going to trim off this just a bit. Now we're going to put some glue on. These don't have to be this deep. They can be shorter or slimmer from here to here. I try to get this as smoothly wrapped around as possible. Sometimes you have to take a little glue on your finger and just round this over. Like in this case, although this won't show because the upper will have it glued down, but I think you get what I'm saying, especially if you did something open-toed. And now you have the sole of the shoe on the left. And let's just go ahead and snip this. Don't want to make these too far apart. And I normally recommend about 1/8 of an inch. I cut this a little bit chubby, but we're making it work. This is a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch snip, but that's because I made this a little bit wide. All right. So this is how it should be. The rounder side goes out, the slimmer side is in. Okay, this is the outside left and this is the outside right. We're going to be turning this over and we're going to glue. I've tried gluing it underneath here, but I don't like the way it looks, and sometimes the glue comes through the fabric and looks kind of, I don't know, ucky. Sometimes you sort of end up with a bit of a mess. So you get this down and hold it. And you can trim off. Like I said, I made this a little bit thick, which could cause some problems going down the road here, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be decent. Okay. I like it to kind of be nice and smooth, especially if you're doing a shoe like this. You want to not see any little weird things on the sides. All right, we're going to let those kind of sit there for a second. Now we're going to undo these. These have glued pretty tightly. Okay, this is going to be fairly bulky, but not too bulky. But I've got to keep it, it has to have some body so that the sides of the shoe stand up nice and are under control. All right, so I'm going to give this a trim because it's kind of fuzzy right there. That looks good. Yeah, this one's the same. Just going to tidy that up just a skosh. And okay, so now we're getting our pump. I may need to use fray check along here, which I think I will before the shoe is finished. Okay, here's our uppers, here's our soles, here's our bottom soles. I need to trim that just a skosh right there. Sometimes you get these little edges that aren't quite trimmed enough. There. That looks pretty good. There's the right. There's the left, or this is the right and this is the left. But when it comes down to this level, you got to make sure you choose and you choose well. If you want to, you can do BL on the bottom, or BR on the bottom, and BL, meaning bottom left, bottom right, that kind of thing. That will help you, but then it will be permanently on your shoe, and I don't know if you want that. So, that's just a choice you need to make. All right, now, snipping these. Our goal is to get a nice rounded toe. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the heel, but we need to clip in order to make this look really great. And if you'll notice, we've got quite a bit of length here to wrap this around, but we only want to do about 1/4 of an inch of a snip. We really don't want to do more than that. And this is where it gets tricky in that, where do I start? Well, I start gluing here like that. I'll get that glued down and I'll put a clothespin to it. And then I'll get this clipped down or glued down. All right, while these other sides and things are clipped. And then we can start laying it in with the glue. And we're going to have to clothespin this because it's a little bit thick because of the stitch witchery and the lining. So we're going to give this a minute to just glue to dry, and then I'll be back. And first I'm going to clip, and I recommend clipping in the back about like that. And then coming into the front, and we're going to clip like this. And then we're going to go to the sides. There's our clip here on this side. There it is. Go like this. Like this. And like that. And that. And that. And that. Sometimes I angle the notch and take a chunk out, and that helps with ease. You see what I'm doing? Okay. I'm going to do it here. All right, now let's go around, go back up to the front, and we have a snip about like that. I think I'm going to do that here and here, just to ease that. We're going to do this and this. This is just because this is something I've learned that helps, that I clip those front and back fold over sections or parts. Okay. All right. I think this is probably pretty good. Well, let's just go ahead instead of pausing the video. We'll get to it. All right. I'm sort of rolling and pushing inward because again, we want that nice toe to go like that. I'm going to put this right here. There we go. We're just going to hold those like that. There. That'll do. Get this here. You're going to have to experiment with your thicknesses until you're feeling more confident about going this thick with your shoe. And even I, you know, I'm not necessarily brave, but I'm pretty experienced at this point to be able to say that I can get to this point and not swear. I put my clothespins on and get those on there, hold them tight. So we're just going to leave this on for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to come back and we'll keep gluing. Okay, we are ready to get the sides glued down and on. All right. You want to try to tuck up underneath this toe real well. In order to keep this from getting too square here, you've got to roll this down and in. This is looking a little square-toed, which is frustrating. But who cares? it's going to be nice looking. Now, I think in order for this to get tight, we're going to need to use some clothespins. Or not. We'll just let that tighten up while we get the other one rolled over. All right, we won't let that go too long like that. All right. Okay. That was me taking off my glasses. That's not going to work. I'm going to have to hold it. You don't want to get this pushed in too far because you've got to leave. Enough on the upper. You don't want to push that upper too far down. See how that's deforming? Yeah, that's not fun. Got to get that flattened in there. It's looking pretty good. All right. Didn't intend for these to be sort of square-toed, but I think it's because of the thickness of the fabric that we're looking at that. Now again, you see how this is so important between here and here to keep this thin. The bottom of your doll's foot is relatively thin from here to here. We don't want it to be really wide. We've got to keep it down as much as possible. Of course, with the heel on the shoe, it gives it more of a nice delicateness. Now, this is where I am going to cut, because I'm going to bend the shoe. And we're going to snip this and ease it and fold it back in on itself. And in fact, well, I don't want to cut the pattern. But we're going to overlap this side over here like this. And we're going to seam it down. Because we're going to make a crease. Okay? And if you want to, you can take your doll. You can take your doll, and this is the left. This is the right. And we're going to get this fitted like this. And you see what happens? All right, so this is what we're dealing with. So now we're going to increase this, fold, and we're going to bring these up like this. I'm going to bring that back like that. Okay. We're going to exaggerate it a little bit. All right. If you want to, if you have a little bit too much gape in here, let me get a toothpick and I'll kind of point this out. You can take a little bit of glue and just put it down in here and tighten up that side like that. But I wouldn't go too crazy with that glue because you get too much and then it just starts to really go in like that. and you don't have any room for the doll foot in here. It just gets a little too narrow. So I would caution you that you're going to have to press up and hold very carefully. And I mean very carefully, or you're going to have to put that glue in there. I've had this happen to me, and then I have to pull it back out and just ease it back in. So be very careful when you do that. All right, now this is where we're going to cut. All right, here's the last leg of this journey of shoemaking. I left off with us needing to cut the shoe. What we're doing is we're going to bring this piece together like this. Now, I have noted that with other shoes that have been made in different parts of the earth, where it has been cut here and here, and then the outer sides come over and overlap, and I've seen the flaps laced with a bow, or just laced and tucked, and it is an aspect of what you're going to study and what you're going to style and how to get it done, so that it gives you a shoe that has a better fit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the needle, and I am going to do 1 thread's width, and I'm going to seam like this. And then I'm just gonna, I think I'm just going to, ouch. No, I don't think I want to do that. I think I'll just do this. And now I'm going to give it a snip. inside. I think I'm happy enough with that. And now we will put the shoe on the foot. Well, looks like I popped her leg. These dolls are somewhat delicate. I might have to put in some super glue in there, and I'm never getting rid of them. They are going to be mine forever. And I'll have to use some other type of super glue on this leg. All right, so this is our shoe, and I'm going to take some Free Check, and I'm going to give this, I wouldn't do this if it did not react well to this fabric and dry so nicely, which it does. And then after this dries, I'll go around the edge with the scissors and the snips and give it just a little trim. All right, so that one's done. And now we'll do this one. I think I'll get some more thread. So I had those who voted with this little shoe video here, which is not little. It's a few hours, or well, I think it's going to turn out to be about 4 hours. You will, I'm doing it as a whole at this point. As a whole video and not in parts, because people were saying that the problem with YouTube and videos is that they get lost or separated from the parts, and it's very difficult to find the parts, and I don't want to make you go through anything difficult. I want you to feel blessed by this and helped. If you're making beautiful custom outfits, you should be making beautiful custom shoes. All right, let's get this going here. There we go. Going with a single length of thread. And I think we'll start there. Then we'll come back in. You know, creatives have such immense power and versatility. I mean, there are some creatives who just concentrate on a single media or skill. And then there are others who get into everything that they possibly can get their hands on and get their hands dirty with. And it brings them even more satisfaction, more strength in their psyche, and they become better people. I'm not... Okay, we're back. I've got my sides sewn up on the pumps, and I have decided to put the soles only on the front half of the shoe and not put the sole on between the heel and the bottom of the shoe. My other shoes that I made that were similar ended up being a little bit too disproportionate. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our super glue and get our heel glued on. My last video cut off abruptly, so I had to go into my phone and do a purge. So hopefully I solved the problem. So now I'm going to take this And I'm just going to cut off the back just a skosh. Perfect. Okay, I've got these flaps cut and 3 sewn to make a nicer neck or opening here in the shoe. I've got the heel sewn on. I've got this sole glued on. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay. I've chosen not to put the sole all the way back on the heel because for some reason, I think it's the thickness of what's going on under the sole that's causing a little bit too much height regarding the heel. And now I'm going to have to press this in. I'm going to be doing something decorative back here on the back of the heel. So once I'm done doing this and getting the sole on, we'll get started on that. This is the only thing I use the super glue on, is the heel. I've actually used the super glue a couple times as I was working on a sole or covering the sole, and it was a particularly tricky spot, but that's the only other time I've done it. I don't recommend using the super glue for forming the fabric around the sole because your fingers and your fabric will never move again. Especially squeezing things together this close. So, all right, that's good. All right, now I'm going to trim this sole down. That looks about right. Okay, so we'll get this glued. And we'll get this on the shoe. And you could stop here, but I am going to put some buttons on this, some cute buttons. And there we go. Imperfect, but workable. Now I'm going to add some of these copper buttons on the shoes with some glue, and then I'll show you the finished product. Well, here's the finished shoes. I decided to leave the pumps front plain, and in the back do a cute little cluster of buttons. Kind of covers up, I thought was a awkward looking back end. Maybe this is less attractive, I don't know. Your shoes, your design. These are not my favorites. I like those better. I've got others I like much, much better. I think it's the bulkiness of this fabric. It created a bulky dress. And I don't like this pattern. I definitely have to add to this pattern because it came out very, I have to remodify the pattern because it didn't come out right. Okay, so there you go. The video is done. I hope you enjoy it.